Rumor has it that there are 7 days of the week. There's a Monday, there's a Tuesday, there's a Wednesday, there's an N, and then there's an E, and there's a C, and a C. And that is your days of the week, ladies and gentlemen. But what if I told you there is one other very secret, hidden day of the week that you only unlock when you're watching this broadcast? That is called the Wenzel's Meat Stick State Farm, Super Farm Day of the Week, and it comes with us, Ooey and Gooey here. We are ready for some amazing NECC action. How are you, Ceebee?
I'm doing wonderful. You know, I hate to say it. I hate to say it about Wenzel's, but I think today might actually be a slightly more important day than Wenzel's Super Farm Day. I think it's actually Grand Finals Day for the NECC fall season. We've got two back-to-back Grand Finals matches on deck for you today, Division 6 and then also later on Division 1. We are going to have new champions crowned by the end of the night. I think that's just a little bit more important than a Wenzel's meat stick.
Well, luckily for us, though,
I know who I'm talking to. I know who I'm talking to.
True.
But
that is true. I mean, look, we are here to promote so many amazing things, the students, the players, and not even just Wenzel's. NECC wouldn't be possible without our amazing partners like without Wenzel's, By Blue Light, Extron, so many people. But you're absolutely right, Ceebee. Today is the day to see in these divisions who can be the ultimate winner. These teams have been fighting since, well, I guess the beginning of their academic careers, it feels like, to get to where they're at now in Marvel Rivals.
which might as well be the beginning of time, because time doesn't really start until you go to college. That's what most historians say.
Marvel Rivals.
Colleges. Oh yeah, I mean, time does not start until you first ignite that time stream the very first time. Anyway, the two colleges that we got going on first are going to be from our Division 6. We have got Lander University Academy going up against White. We've got University of Florida with the Gators back on for another show. One of their academy teams coming to the fold to face off against Lander University. I think this one is going to be a very interesting one, because looking at the bracket, both of these teams narrowly escaped out of semifinals in 5 map bangers across the board. And before that, 3-1. It's been a rocky road for the both of them. And I want to ask you personally, while we're looking at the rosters here, put yourself in the shoes of any one of these students and ask yourself, do you feel more or less confident coming into grand finals knowing that you just narrowly escaped?
Well, I have some bad news, Ceebee. I'm wearing sandals. So imagine I was wearing shoes and we could see if I could put myself in that position. I would be a little nervous. I mean, again, you've been working for months to get to this spot. Like you mentioned, narrowly made it out of semifinals. I can only imagine, depending on how well the scrims and maybe even footage that you have to look over in the semis to get to this grand final spot can go for both these teams, I think we're going to have a very, very long series on our hands, and I honestly wouldn't want it any other way.
I sure hope so. I mean, the holiday season is right around the corner, and there's no better gift than I want than a 5-map banger and the opportunity to cast it. And there's no better gift than these players can give to their teammates than the opportunity to lift that metaphorical trophy. Sadly, this is an online tournament. We don't have a literal trophy for them to all coalesce and lift, but, you know, maybe they'll go out and get one in the college esports room.
They can go chop
frame
it down
put it
in
up
the
somewhere
forest.
nice. Yeah, they can just go find the nearest trophy tree.
Exactly. I mean, I see trophy trees all the time. Or maybe they can go to the Wenzel farm and get themselves a meat trophy.
Well, speaking of where they can go, where do you think that they're going to go for their first map?
Well,
ooh, we already got the answer.
That's right.
It is it's not your least favorite. It's not Hell's Heaven for once.
Thank you. First of all, both these teams are off on a very good start. I like Burning T'Challa because there's variety when it comes to the domination points. There's more to do, but it also makes things pretty nerve-wracking at times as well, because there is similarities with some of the points, there is variety with others, but that does lead to a macro level where these teams, they could snowball pretty heavily in aggro play if they capture the point first.
I also do kind of feel like, you know, with Burning T'Challa specifically at this level, you know, we're going to tend to see a little bit more of those kind of individual pop-off performances and less of that coordinated team play. And Burning T'Challa, especially Stellar Spaceport, is one of those maps that can lend itself very well to things like long-range hit scan. You know, you got your things like the Hela, the Namor, still with the team up, by the way. You've got things like the Phoenix or the Hawkeye that a lot of the times like to come out onto the fold, as some of these players feel like they can just take over the lobby if they just get those sight lines. And Burning T'Challa is very friendly with those sight lines.
Yes, it is. I mean, even with Burnin specifically, too, you had the Venom Jeff team up, which we have been seeing banned a lot more as of late in NECC, I think across all divisions. But just for an early speed boost, to have that capability for an early pickup on the drop, I think that's always important to see. But it's our favorite time of the day. This is where we can pretend to be Magneto and Professor X. We get to see the picks and bans. And we are off to
Ooh.
that certified NECC moment. I wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a J. Jonah Jameson band right there, if ever I have seen one. Pictures of the guy, but no thank you to the actual Spider-Man. What's going to be interesting, though, is, again, we're not going to be, like, this is Division 6, so it's not going to be the highest of high levels, but the meta kind of, like, trickles down and then takes its own sort of shape here. I know for a fact at the top levels, Gambit is extremely strong and is essentially a permaban. But down here, I'm not sure if some of these players might have picked up to the Gambit wave yet, or maybe they are on it, but they don't exactly just know.
Have.
They have to. I mean, he's like the hot new hero. He's the new hotness that everyone's picking up. I got to imagine I mean, he is hot. I mean, like he's what he does. I get it. I can see it. You know, I can see what Rogue's into with that one. But do these players see what Rogue's into with him? Because, like, you know, we're not seeing the insta ban. So either these teams both really want to run Gambit, or they're just not afraid of him. And either way, I think that's interesting.
Interesting anti-trap ban coming out for the Moon Knight on UF White's side. It seemed like with the Spider-Man ban originally, it was to be anti-speed. They don't want to deal with any gimmicky plays. Maybe they don't want to deal with the AoE of Moon Knight. A lot of these are just safety bans from things just individual players can pop off with. So maybe the expectation for UF White, in a counterplay sense, is expecting LANDER University to play more on an individualistic level.
I think a lot of these players, like I said, are going to be trying to play on an individualistic level, and like the bans to me just kind of strike me as like, let's just ban out things that are annoying. I don't like playing against Spider-Man either. I can assure you, like that. I will be happy for a Spider-Man ban any day of the week.
Every 3 seconds.
I hate getting logged by Hawkeye when I'm not even seeing it coming. Like, homie can just hit me a long-range lobotomy with a great oak tree. Well, I mean, Clint's your man. Yeah. Not going to be in this game, though. He's getting banned out, but we are going to have the Punisher being protected here. So a lot of front-loaded damage, a lot of front-to-back composition style sweeping, shaping up here from what I'm seeing. And even a Venom ban just to try and take a little bit more of that dive off the table.
Yeah, dive off the table. That's definitely the big factor. Normally we see the Venom and or the Jeff ban to be the anti-team up with that speed boost. I talked about it before as an important factor. The Hella's ban gone too. So these last two had to have been anti-just team-up factors. You don't have to worry about the Hella and Namor matchup anymore. If we do see some dive capabilities off of UF White, we'll have to wait and see how things match up now. I imagine both these teams leaving Gambit on the board, Ceebee. Surely we'll have a Magneto, Gambit, Emma team up for both of these teams? Double shields?
I mean, perhaps. I mean, we're seeing both Vanguard lines currently hovering over the Magneto, and I do think that Magneto is also S tier right now, very strong at all levels of play, and definitely going to need him coming into the fold here. Part of what's making him strong, though, as well, is the Gambit team up. So looking to see if any of these teams make a swap over onto the King of Tees over there. I'm also looking right now at Tabby on the Doctor Strange. You know, we're actually seeing that being mirrored over on the side of UF White as well. We're going to see potentially these early Strange portals come out, or are they just trying to hold them for the later recontest? We'll have to see. At this level, it's really a crapshoot. It could go either way.
It's going to be tough with Warrior Falls, too. It's definitely the oddball out when it comes to Burn and T'Challa. The other 2 points are very similar in terms of structure. Warrior has a lot of environmental damage happening, so you can't necessarily take this first point and expect yourself to go for the second. Very curious to see about Landor's composition, too. They don't know they're facing Chiba on the Punisher just yet, but even without that consideration, Ceebee, there's not a lot of damage whatsoever from Landor's output.
I do like this portal placement, though, as it blocks off UF White's approach here, so LANDER basically just have this choke point that they can just pump the damage down with the Iron Man. Iron Man, you know, you talk about how much you love Squirrel Girl. Iron Man is basically Squirrel Girl that flies, and he can take a couple lives. One of them going to be res back up with a BRB, but 2 easy KOs coming out for Mr. Tony Stark there, and Katie Android going to help his team secure the first tap there.
I can't believe this is working. This should not work for the Iron Man whatsoever. You're up against the Bucky, who can drain the HP of anybody on the enemy team, but you have the hit scan of Chiba that should melt Iron Man and prioritize him completely. KD should have been 2-shot at the beginning of this game, but he managed to get away with heroics and still stay alive. Pulse Cannon is out, ready for what could be an ultimate shot, but unfortunately he saves it and goes down with the ship. Chiba makes his way back onto the stage. The domination point is out now, and LANDER University, despite everything, has been able to capture it at 30%.
Cosmic Yarn Amplifier just for a little bit of extra damage there. Ceebee trying to get that damage in there with the shotgun and finish off a stagger KO onto Bathtub Toast. Will do exactly that. You talk about whether or not, like, you know, how surprised you are that the Iron Man was working, but it's all about the map geometry. The fact that UF White were walking on into that tunnel and KD Android was just able to pump in the damage essentially for free, you know, fish in a barrel kind of situation. But once the fish go out of the barrel, they kind of flop around all over the place. It's really hard for them to be pinned down. Yeah. And then UF White just pop their ults and get the Regan test here. And now,
hold on though, flop fish will eventually die without water, so UF White, they should be able to
They had
lose
more
this
than
point.
enough ultimates to wet their whistle, let me tell you.
Oh.
And now they've got enough to take down IDK How to Play.
Well, I guess the gills have turned into lungs. We'll have to wait and see what this adjustment could be now from the Iron Man. Up and above, looking for an easy snipe. That ultimate prepped and ready, but instead, Pulse Cannon could very well be out. We see Ensong Inferno out from the Phoenix pick, but unfortunately, it doesn't find a lot of damage. Instead, though, it's going to be the Ender coming out from KD that removes the Doctor Strange from play. There's a lot of ultimates set up and ready. LANDER is going to use this as their entryway back in. Of course, though, we do get to see Agamotto out now from the Doctor Strange. That'll stifle everyone in their place. But instead, LANDER have used all their ultimates at once, perfectly taking back the control point.
And there was a little bit of a layering of the ultimates there. You had that that Pulse Cannon alongside the Meteor M as well, both just to try and shut down the Strategist ultimates on the other side, which both smart plays from Android and IDK How to Play individually, but layering them both at the same time is going to present a bit of a problem once UF White start to come back into the fold. That invisible boundary is going to charge up a lot faster than either of those ultimates if Slayer is able to keep up the healing here. John Green holding on to this Cosmic Yarn Amplifier should be able to pop this aggressively for UF White if they should so choose, but losing aim is something early on. The BRB already burned. UF White can't afford to be too sloppy on their approach here.
Cosmic Yarn Amplifier set up and ready now off of the hands of this Rocket Raccoon. Ceebee's going to follow up a final judgment. Of course, in top of that too, you have yourself an ultimate down below, but that's from Bathtub side. It should melt everyone away! Ceebee melted down the entirety of LANDER directly at their feet! That is a comeback if I've ever seen one.
Ceebee, I didn't know you were like that, but that was absolutely disgusting. The tracking on that ulting Cloak and Dagger through the Eternal Bond, able to just melt Tandy back down to nothing, and UF White able to retake off of just that 79% apiece, now crossing that 80% threshold, and Kiyoshi with just a random headshot there onto Ceebee. The BRB gonna be burned already, but again, UF White using that resource early, 30 seconds before it's gonna be available again, and if LANDER can find one more KO, they will be able to flip this one.
It's gotta be KD as the ace in the hole to get back into this. Prevent OT, Invisible Woman brings down her boundary, up close, finds nothing? That is so unfortunate, and everyone falls at once. That BRB brought out, put Ceebee back in the game immediately, and look at the results. UF White, it was scary at first, but without a single hero change coming up from LANDER University, they didn't find that same stride coming back into it.
I think that Pulse Cannon that came out from KD Android was trying to shut down that invisible boundary, but I think Slayer might have hit Force Physics and gone for a little boop there, and Android just kind of lost track of the target, wasn't able to confirm the KO on that one, and with no Meteor M, there was no risk of double dipping that time around, so LANDER didn't even have the insurance policy, and UF White are able to sneak away with that one despite a fair bit of heroics from LANDER, and you gotta give it up for Ceebee off of one round, by the way. My guy's got 10k damage and 8 final hits. Android is competitive there with 5, but it feels like night and day when you look at the overall limbs.
I like this change up too from UF White. Not only did they convert the first round, but they've recognized how front-loaded LANDER University are playing their stack up. There's no flanks. There's very little maneuverability coming out.
You keep saying LANDER. I think you're thinking of some Star Wars, some Andor.
No, yeah, but there's actually there is a LANDER, I think, University in other esports games too, which, you know, grammar is always weird. But it really comes down to this. If it's so front-loaded, we see AIM swapping over to the Mr. Fantastic pick. That's going to give a lot more punchy potential to a team with only 2 healers, one of which being the Rocket, means that there's not a lot of healing output compared to UF White's team. They can continue to contest for the front lines, and once one starts to crumble, it should be easy to take down everybody else.
There are some people who do believe that Mr. Fantastic is underrated. Tabby going to go in over the top with the Eye of Agamotto. Good Force Physics to stop the follow-through from coming up, and a great mag bubble as well coming out to try and save John Green, but it's not going to be enough as Android is there with the follow-up, and IDK How to Play with a little bit of sword action there. Nearly gets swooped into the hole there, but Nevertheless, Lander are able to get away with first cap on the point at 10% and counting. And even though UF White are finding a couple of frags on the opposite end, they're going to be rezzed right back up. It's not going to be enough to make anything stick.
Yoshi and Katie are off angling now. They're looking to find a way to break through the back line of UF White to get rid of those healers and make sure now with a lesser Vanguard lineup that things will be more hurty. But unfortunately, though, there hasn't been a way in just yet. Never mind. That's going to be a triple stack coming out from Lander. They've been able to stuff out UF White, but it was the first ult stack back over on Warrior Falls that allowed UF White to take control of the domination point and never let go.
Android is just getting so much value off of this Iron Man pick, because again, we talk about the map geometry and how Ceebee should just be able to melt this Iron Man, but just can't seem to get the shots in when he really needs to, and that's just because of the ways that Android is playing the cover right now and the usage of the map geometry to his advantage to make sure that he's able to get access to the backline from above, and no one really has the opportunity to check him right now.
There we go, Pulse Can's looking to be set up and ready. Comes down to the ult up now from UF White. He likes to hide inside this invisible boundary, but instead it's not activated just yet. It's I don't know how to play. And buddy, I feel that. Sometimes I don't either. But he's been frontlining so hard, he gets a double knockout doing so.
Now, I don't know if IDK how to play is the right name. If that's true, homie figured it out pretty damn fast and might win a Grand Finals championship if we can keep this one up as Lander.
Ever.
I sincerely doubt that because I was whipping Meteor M's. I was not hitting him the way homie is hitting him the first time I picked up that boy.
Bro is John Marvel rivals. But can Kiyoshi beat the second coming of Marvel itself? We'll have to wait and see. Agamotto was out now. Kiyoshi does end up evading it. Strange on strange action though. A whip fest is out, but unfortunately does not amount to a whole lot. All the ultimates are out from both of these teams, and while the cycling's looking good for UF White, they have not found their mark on this second point just yet. They did end up winning the first point, but this one and Stellar are very similar to each other. It could spell doom for UF White on map number 1 if they can't convert this now. Invisible boundary is back out yet again, giving them quite literally a boundary to get onto the point. Bodies are falling left and right. And a moment to breathe, Ceebee. Finally now UF White have their first percentages.
They're going to have to make a whole run back, though. It's 99% for Lander University, and I got to highlight the bubble right now because, I mean, the VRBs are so clutch for Lander University and the way they're playing around them. They know exactly when they have that resource and when they need to cool their jets and not go too aggressive. So every single time that UF White finds an opening frag, it gets rezzed up, and Lander University, they don't get too big for their britches. They don't try and walk forward and take more space than they can. They back up and wait until they have their full stack, and then they get another res beacon, 30 seconds. That buff coming out to the BRB is paying off dividends for Lander University, and UF White, while they are leveraging it as well, it's not to the same effect.
Oh, hitting them with that old Brainiac bounce, the Karmic, not the Karmic Revival, the Kraken Arm, 2 different Ks, could very well be the follow-up, and Chiba's rotating. He's leaving the rest of his team behind, but he's off-angling from behind, activate some damage from his ult, and get rid of that Iron Man early. That would have been the biggest stopping power from his ult and finding impact. He's good for one, but he can't follow up from the other. All of Lander, they come together and make sure that Ceebee, priority number 1, falls behind. And so does the overtime for UF White. That's going to be an even game.
I'm not sure if Ceebee got booped into the pit there or was trying to go for a rotation, but either way, it took too long to come to fruition that when that Kraken impact comes out, it has the potential to be huge, but homie takes a little bit of chip damage, can't quite get the healing, and isn't going to be able to finish his meal there, and that ties us up 1-1. Lander might be able to make a comeback here. They look really strong on Institute of Science, and now as we head on over to Stellar Spaceport, I'm going to be looking at Kiyoshi, the Phoenix, to try and take over this fight here for the side of Lander University. This is where the long-range hit scan comes into the fold, and is Ceebee making the swap off of the Punisher over to the Psylocke? Now AIM is something making the swap as well. It's time to see what the hit scan players over the side of UF White can do.
I'm going to play Detective Keg for a second, Ceebee. I think for sure that end round play from the Winter Soldier was a rotation. Ceebee's realizing now that both these teams, again, have been very frontline loaded and that they are just clashing damage against each other, playing for ultimates, the leverage impact against each other. Having someone to take those wider extremities, like a Psylocke, potentially flanking, while AIM is focusing on that Iron Man as well, it's enough to pick damage away, go for the dance of the butterflies, and maybe find that backwards impact to take down the very well-placed strategists that Lander have for a chance to bring back this dub.
I'm really liking the portal usage coming out here from Tabby, using the portal to block off the sight lines. It's very high level play intellect that you see coming out from the side of Lander University, and the rest of the team able to play around it, using it as a pseudo shield. And now with the Eye of Agamotto coming out, the real shield is going to be on deck to block the incoming damage. Cosmic Yarn amplifiers on both sides. The pulse cannon finds 3. Android coming online. That's the big one we were looking for. Jarvis, clip that.
Oh, Android's activated. Hello, new version. That's what we like to see. That is an upgrade for sure. And that's UF White gone. But I will say though, Ceebee, history does repeat itself. This has been the beginning of every single domination round. Always an early lead from Lander until the ults are built up.
It has been, but Lander do have a fair bit of momentum. They also have 2 Vanguard ultimates that they could use to try and shut down anything that UF White try to come forward with. And UF White don't have any strategist ults anytime soon, so there's really no reason for IDK how to play to pop this Meteor M unless he absolutely has to. And by that time, Lander are already so far ahead.
But surely it has to be the Agamotto that he procced out instead, and it certainly is. I don't know how to play. You're completely right. Doesn't even need to use Meteor M. He's going to wait for those strategists to build their ults up again. And that is a clean sweep from Lander.
The Slayer only at 71% up to that invisible boundary. So again, IDK how to play just gets to hold on to this for another ult rotation. And again, like by the time those ultimates come online, Lander are looking at a 99%. As long as they can hold this ground, they have a win condition already set up. UF White have to try and find a way to break it. Perhaps this final judgment could force out the Meteor M, but you also have strategist ultimates for Lander. So there's so many options here.
I'm looking at Chiba almost getting Dance with the Butterflies. That could force out Bathtub Toast to bring Eternal Bond out. However, Valfam's not too far behind. He won't be able to counter it with the Meteor M just yet of his own. Everything's got to be played carefully. Instead, the ult was used before Dance with the Butterflies was procced out. Time and patience is a virtue. Chiba can play the waiting game. Look for the prime target. Who is the squishiest? And right outside the ult, that's Kiyoshi gone when it matters most. Invisible boundaries out. Entry point in. Great comms are out, and KD is set up for Pulse Cannon yet again. Oh, I know how tantalizing this looks. It's prime rib season. Thanksgiving came late, but the turkey is gone. That's both the strategists off the table. UF White, they have no survivors. Lander, despite a faulty Warrior Falls, they won the 2 sides that seem pretty dang close together.
And it's the Iron Man pick at the end of the day that ends up winning the day for Lander. Burn and T'Challa will go their way. They get that early momentum on the series. They're going to have the benefit of map picks if we end up going to a map 5 now, assuming, you know, they can keep things going in their favor for just one more here. And if you're UF White, there's a lot that you can kind of hang your hat on going forward, especially when it comes to these duelist lines. We're seeing some crazy plays coming out for the Punisher, but overall, the team play for Lander University is much higher level than what I think we'd be used to seeing around, you know, Division 6. Like, this is pretty impressive stuff coming out for Lander. There is a reason that they have made it to this grand finals. We know for a fact there is a reason for UF White as well, but we need to see that come to fruition, and we're only going to have about 2 more maps before we need to see it.
I completely agree with you, Ceebee. And just to focus on that point of team play really quick, Tabby got MVP, and while it's well-deserved, honestly, I think Bubble and Bathtub deserve MVP the most. Their strategist line made what I thought would be, frankly, a terrible decision made at the start of this game, bringing out the Iron Man against a hit scan like Punisher, which is usually a direct hard counter, worked fantastically. KD ended game 1 28-9 and never once felt pressured to swap off because of the sheer value of the strategic heals being brought out, countered the counterplay perfectly.
And again, it's because he understands how to play this hero with the map geometry, and it's so hard for these hit scan heroes to be able to get the shots that they need in order to take down a flyer like that when they understand how to play it. And that also kind of goes into the team composition and the ways that the team plays. Lander understand that if they've got a man down, they can't play far forward, and you also can't have Android posted up too far. He's got to play on an angle somewhere safe where he can pump in the damage in the backline, still be a threat, still put that pressure, so UF White can't just walk forward for free, but he's not at risk of getting just shot out of the sky before that beacon comes back up.
That's right, and KD was also playing really risky too. Typical Ironmans do play exclusively backline. They think it's the safety part, but unfortunately, a lot of the time, having a lack of a body in near the front or midline means that there is one less person to absorb extra damage from the strategist, or even at times the other duelist, or sometimes even the vanguards, right? But because we saw KD play directly in the action a lot of the time, he made the most value out of his kit than any other Ironman I think we've seen I want to say in the entirety of NECC, including all divisions.
And I know it's also a small sample size, but I do also sense a worrying trend for UF White here is that Lander University are starting to come online. Their coordination is starting to get even better, and there were a couple missteps on Warrior Falls. Like I talk about the layering of the Meteor M alongside the Pulse Cannon, but that didn't happen again after Warrior Falls. As soon as we moved on to Institute of Science, it was near perfect play across the board, and even more so on Stellar Spaceport. We never saw that again. They were calling out whose ultimate they were going to use to try and shut down a strategist ultimate. IDK How to Play, we called out his Meteor M like 3 minutes. Like he was just able to hold on to it, never had to use it, and even still, Android was like, I got this. All right, I see an Eternal Bond. This one's all mine. Let me get another clip here. You had your 2K earlier on. Let me one-up you.
I mean, I really like Lander having pressure tools out. You have the Pulse Cannon, you have Meteor M. Strategists won't be able to get away with a lot if UF White keep going the way that they're going too. Makes me very curious to see what the picks and bans for the next map are going to look like, depending on what it is. I can't imagine we're going to see more Spider-Man bans coming out. Surely we will see more counterplay bans coming out from UF side. Maybe getting rid of that Iron Man, right?
It's going to depend very heavily on UF White's read of the map pick, because it is going to be their map pick, so they could potentially just go a map where they feel like they're going to have some of these better sight lines. But that said, I feel like that map would have been burned into T'Challa. Like, that should have favored the hit scan, especially Institute of Science, but realistically, only when you have the control of the map, or, specifically Stellar Spaceport, but both, honestly, all three of them, but Stellar Spaceport the most, if you have control of the point. They need to be able to keep control of the point with whatever map they should so choose. Like, sure, you could take it to Midtown and still maybe set your hit scans in a way up where they could shut down an Iron Man quite effectively, but only if you have control of the map and you understand how to set your hit scans up in that way. And I feel like Lander University might just be one step ahead in that regard.
Yeah, I can absolutely see that. It's not even necessarily that it's the Iron Man that was the winning factor for KD. I think the way that he maneuvered himself was very valuable. I think the way he was good at positioning himself and allowing to work with the rest of his team and not be this solo rogue hero to find impact in the server was very valuable. So if you what's up?
So I was gonna say, like, something else that is also like worth bringing up here is also what you said earlier with like how it's hard for these strategists to try and play around when you have both a Meteor M and a Pulse Cannon that can shut your ultimates down. It's kind of a hard counter to the way a lot of teams at these lower levels like to play. They like to play that very front to back brawl heavy style where they don't have to go on too many flanks. They don't have to try and take too many duels. They just try and fight as a team and wait for the individual pop off moments to happen. Invis, Cloak and Dagger, Luna, they're all fantastic when it comes to those sorts of compositions. You're not going to see a whole lot of dive compositions where things are a little bit more scattered or segmented, because we're seeing bans on heroes like the Jeff, who doesn't really worry as much about these pulse cannons.
Well, I am ready to pop off too. I want to see what the next map is going to be. Production already knows. They're keeping it hidden from us. Our personal war with production. Oh, never mind. We surrendered. Clintar.
Yeah.
Okay. I personally think this is a great Iron Man map.
I agree, which makes it all the more weird that UF White would pick it. I will concede, though, that like it's very defensive favored on the first point in both directions. Like, you can set your hit scan up and make it very hard for an Iron Man to approach. You can also, on the attacking side, have a very hard time getting over that ceiling to try and take down the Iron Man, who's able to just spam down that choke as well. I think this might warrant a ban on Mr. Tony Stark. We might have to eat the rich.
Oh, man. Well, at least maybe his pet robot, Ultron, might be able to make an appearance here, depending on how KD likes to play.
True.
Having aggressive potential on a triple strategist line is risky in this meta, but Gambit also wasn't banned. So you can have like Ultron, Gambit, Strange, Mag. What would the other duelist be? Kiyoshi? I guess still the Phoenix?
Something I think is interesting in the current meta now that I haven't seen a lot, but I feel like I might. Like, it makes sense to me in my head. So this is just me pulling a theory out of nowhere. Like this is my crackpot.
I love your
season 5 meta theory. Is that Gambit is so crazy strong, right? That all the top teams are insta-banning him. But that means that they're not insta-banning Mantis, and she is another hero that enables a lot of these very heavy damage front-loaded triple strategist compositions, like the ones we see with the Ultron or like with the Groot Loki team-ups that are just, you know, so packed with healing and damage and so difficult to break, that I think we might be coming into something absolutely broken in season 5. We'll see if it comes to fruition here. I doubt Again, total crackpot theory. Don't know if it's real. Don't know if either of these teams have picked up on my theory that I just made up on the spot right now. But they have picked up on that Spider-Man is annoying to play, and they're going to start with a Spider-Man ban. And of course, Hawkeye as well.
Did Mantis
Second
pay you
verse,
off
same
to
as the
say all
first.
that? Are you
she
bought
did
by
not.
Big Mantis?
Yeah, she wouldn't have to pay me. She would just have to, like, touch my arm. That's, like, what she does. She just, like, empathizes with
I
you.
don't mind that either. Spider-Man's gone. Hawkeye, we say goodbye to as well. The Hella Reserve is interesting. Surely that's a Kyoshi swap.
Absolutely, and I think it kind of goes to show that they are worried about the flyers coming out from Lander, again, specifically that Iron Man, and they're worried about how defender favored this can be in either situation. You can set the Hella up somewhere where you can pretty much cut off an Iron Man's approach from any angle, and even if you don't play Iron Man, you still have potentially one of the strongest duelists in the game right now. I think everybody's got her around S tier, if not for Daredevil being essentially an unchecked god. I mean, Hella would be the best duelist in the game right now. So, yeah, all around great protect coming out for UF White. They might actually be able to get ahead on this.
And surely because the Hella Reserve, we don't see the Namor ban. The Namor composition back on Domination wouldn't really favor how either one of these teams play, just because of how group dive heavy they are. But I would like to see. Well,
I feel like the Hella Namor composition would suit UF White quite well, though. Like,
really?
their playstyle, again, it's very front to back favored, and I do also think that both of their duelists showed a proficiency for hit scan characters, and while Namor isn't quite a hit scan, he's about as close as you can get. Like, it's a really fast traveling projectile, and he plays the same as basically any hit scan. If you can play Hella, you can play Namor. So
sure, I think the value that we could see off of Sheba bringing out, say, the Psylocke again in this matchup would be a lot higher of a value than Namor here. And look, I'm a Namor enjoyer too. I love playing him. He's fantastic in almost all scenarios. But there comes a point where even though he does a lot of high damage output, it still gets absorbed so quickly when you just have a massive HP bars up against another. So I think having a Winter Soldier Hella team up or a combination could work well here for UF White. But I think we're going to fall into the same category again where, yeah, Sheba's goal here is going to be to break up the back line and make sure that the front line gets significantly weaker as time goes on.
I also, real quick about the bans, like that Punisher ban for Lander, because they don't need to protect the Iron Man. You already see Android hovering over it. They know that Iron Man made it through the ban phase, so they don't have to worry about protecting him or banning him. They see the Hella protect, and they just want to try and lock down the double hit scan. Sure, aim is something, wants to play the Bucky anyway. Winter Soldier, again, another S-tier duelist, but not always the best against Iron Man, at least compared to something like the Punisher. It's definitely a lot easier for a Punisher to hit their shots on an Iron Man than it is for a Bucky. That said, still not a bad look overall for UF White. I think both teams kind of come out of this ban phase feeling like they got something that they wanted.
Yeah, I think no complaints from either side either. I do agree with that. I'm really curious to see how the Psylocke and the Angela are going to play up against one another. Again, I'm looking at the frontline capabilities of UF White and how significantly weaker this initial push will be. It's been the weakest aspect, too, from UF White, has been the initial push. So,
well, the initial push is going to be a very aggressive one with an Angela composition. I'm liking this, like, kind of flank split rotation here from UF White. We'll see what ends up happening with it. You can kind of see the silhouette right now for Sheba just going up the main choke while the rest of UF White is rotating up over onto this high ground, kind of following along with the Angela, who, once this wall comes down, I don't know if they're going to set up here as a team or if they're going to try and just go for a play once we get a kidnap going with the Angela here, but here we go. Shield already out. They know UF White is there. They made a lot of noise on their approach. My team was not subtle. Stealth stat, bit of a low roll.
Facing the entire team around on the other side away from the main choke does make Sheba's life easier here. Aim something should be able to have a better angle as well for an early crack and impact. And at 40%, he's looking to cycle his ultimate very effectively. Lander University are surrounded though, and UF White have been able to hold the tide very well thus far. It's just a matter of seeing what is going to be the opening chain link fence to break on down. And so far, Angela targeting this Iron Man is expected to be a very unknown challenge. That's Tabby to take one down. Android soon to follow. UF White, they've come into this with a macro plan in mind, and they know how to disassemble Lander.
And what's interesting is we didn't actually see the BRB res come out when that first KO came through onto Tabby, so you didn't actually get your Doctor Strange back into the fight soon enough. I mean, you can live with losing both him and Android at the same time, but you can't live with doing both, and you have White just finding these staggered KOs one after the other. This should be enough to get the cap here. Tabby might be able to go for a Strange TP, but looks like no, he's gonna opt to hold on to it, and UF White will get that cap, get this first cart moving, and do it ultless. So they're gonna have a lot coming into this Streets phase here.
Yeah, UF White have played this so well. It's just a matter of how well the team can peel from here on out. It's not something we had to see a whole lot of with every fight back on Domination being just giant ult fests. But unfortunately, the Angela does fall. Overextended just a tiny bit. Luckily now the BRB does come out and brings Angela directly back into the fray. But bodies are falling one by one from UF White. The Angela forces the peel off just in time. Pulse Cannon set up and ready for the Iron Man. What a push coming out from Slayer, sending possibly an entire team save.
Nearly actually forced a bit of a mishap. Danger close situation coming out from Android, but IDK out to play with the Meteor M. That is the meteor that made the dinosaurs go extinct.
Plenty of oil here on Clintar now. The only survivor being Ceebee is forced to wait for the rest of his team to come on back. Luckily though, both
where's the party, guys?
Where'd everyone go? But look at
well, they faced an extinction event. Thy name is IDK How to Play, and now. I mean, UF White, they have this aggressive comp, and they have the BRB as well, so they can go in aggressively here now that they know that at least the worst of it, as far as the ults go for LANDER University, have already been bled out. Trying to go for a kidnap there onto Tabby, but a great mag bubble again from IDK How to Play. The mag play is paying off so well, and Android with an early KO there.
I love this targeting from LANDER up against UF White. It's the Angela to take the brunt of this damage and was even hit by the Agamotto. Tabby and Co have been able to keep everyone at bay so effectively. Dance of the Butterflies, along with Heaven's Retribution, takes down the entirety of LANDER. But what we're seeing now from both these teams, Ceebee, especially from UF White's side, has been impact mostly from the hands of just ult dumps.
From UF White, what I'm seeing now as well is an ability to take all of this forward position and force Android into an uncomfortable situation where this Iron Man is going to stop getting value. A fair bit of damage coming out. I think that was out of range of the BRB as well, so we're not actually going to see the res there. And UF White's advantage might have just evaporated. They do still have the Kraken impact, so they could try and make up for the loss in manpower with the ultimates, skip that step there, but it looks like they're just gonna back up and wait until they have a full 6 before they try to commit. Aim is something though, taking down Kiyoshi. Now they have the man advantage, and Android just takes it away.
Oh, it's so messy right now. It is just 1v1 after 1v1. Kraken impact is out now. Could this be the counterplay needed to bring out KED's Pulse Cannon? Probably not. Slayer's going to be the #1 player to look at right now, whether they bring out their own ultimate on Invisible Woman, or the fact that they could wait out the Iron Man ult itself to get that impact. There it is, Meteor M. Does that shut down the Iron Man? No. But no, it's a net neutral. Nothing happens with either ult.
As a net neutral, just, you know, a good defensive utility to try and shut down the Meteor M, though. But now you got more coming online for UF White that they can continue to hold their ground here now. IDK How to Play just looking like he's being swarmed by sharks right now. And Bathtub Toast no longer going to be there to heal. Dance the Butterfly going to come out from Chiba. That's going to find at least a 2K. Make it a 3! The Dance of the Butterfly. Homie is dancing with everyone. It's the Harlem Shakeout here. Kiyoshi, though, with the Goddess of Death, finds 3. And at LANDER, looking to try and turn it. Chiba has to go absolutely huge. Takes down IDK Out of Play, but Tabby with the Maelstrom of Madness will be the last one standing, and Slayer wants none of Tabby's smoke.
Woo! Ceebee, that is one pretty shark. I gotta say, the Dance of the Butterflies, the communication coming up from UF White has looked exemplary. I've been such a big fan of both these teams thus far and how they communicate with one another. But with a minute left, it comes down to this. There's still time to play around, but you really can't bank on losing this next team fight, especially with Tabby hiding away, looking for a chance to go into the back line here, Ceebee and Agamottoing it out.
And there's no strategist ultimate except for the Cosmic Yarn Amplifier from the bubble. Heaven's Retribution going to come out early. Are we going to be able to capitalize off this? The mag bubbles aren't enough to save Kiyoshi. The Eye of Agamotto, though, from Tabby finds 2, and Kiyoshi going to be rezzed, and LANDER immediately back up to full strength. The BRB onto Slayer isn't going to be good enough because Slayer doesn't have the ultimate, so LANDER just have to turn and burn here to force UF White back to the spawn door.
All right, 30 seconds left now. What is the play? UF White, they don't have a lot to hold out for. They're gonna have to push out now. Shiba's close to having their ultimates. In fact, most of UF White are. It's all gonna come down to the CYA from John Green to see how he can give himself the maximum push in. He's going in deep. He overextends. The bubble's on top, and there's the pulse cannon, and it finds nothing. It's gonna be UF White aware of their tricks, but at the cost of what? It's the pace of Clintar.
Great defense there from LANDER. The fact that they forced that fight so far forward that UF White have to use their ults just to try and break through them, and they can't get past the bouncer, they can't get back to the cart, and they can't complete the cap here. So despite UF White's heroics on the attack, despite their ability to use this Angela to great effect, it's just not enough for them to be able to break through past second point. That said, it's a win condition for either sides. LANDER very well might have a hard time breaking through with this Iron Man if you're able to set up Ceebee with the Hela, and you can already see the gears turning. That was UF White's strategy. That's what they're going to be bringing to this defense, and we're even seeing Valfam now on the Namor, so we do get to see this team up.
I think it's the first time we call about it every time we cast, and now we get to see it. Not banned, not unplayed. We get to see the impact of what I think that has to be your favorite team up in this game.
Well, I mean, there's also my other favorite team up, the Rocket Network, with the newly buffed Penny Parker.
Oh, yes.
We're going to be seeing all of the healing webs coming out, and interesting mind placement coming out. Also, by the way, bit of a role swap here. Aim is something off of the Duelist and over onto the Vanguard. This tells me this is a pocket Penny pick. Again, this is a strategy. This is why they picked this map. And if that's to be believed, there's a strong chance UF White could get the full hold here.
Full anchor play coming out from UF White. They have to make this count. They were able to capture the first domination point, but they didn't find much lead time when it came to the convoy section of Clintar. It really comes down to aim something to find impact here. Luckily, though, KD...
I'm worried about how far Aim is something is played, though, because,
yeah?
I mean, you're going to have the Iron Man able to pump in a fair bit of damage. You can already see them pulling back. They know this strange TP is coming. Early BRB broken.
So bot can play. The original strat doesn't work anymore. Aim something will have to come up with a quick plan B, and like you mentioned, Ceebee, as it was quiet in the Western Front, they had to have a major change, and they do. Valfam is the first to fall. So we're not going to see the impact on the Namor just yet. It's going to take a little while, but the healing webs of Penny Parker are going to make things a lot easier for UF White to have that stranglehold to play frontline continuously. Kyoshi's the next to the fall, and luckily the BRB is out. LANDER can keep applying the pressure. They're building at their ultimates, surely. But even with that being said, though, the focus should be on KD. There's hit scan available from Ceebee, but with this Penny Parker staying alive, that should be enough to keep things at bay.
Finally, the pressure, though, comes out. A Maelstrom and Manus to deal with Ceebee, and we still don't have a BRB res for UF White. And now is the Cosmic Yarn Amplifier going to come out from the bubble? You can see the damage is coming through in spades. It's not enough for Aim is something to withstand. Is essentially just feeding ult charge to the Strategist right now, but Slayer's in no position to pop this invisible boundary, and KDA Droid gonna take him out. It's Spider Time? Well, Spider Time is canceled, so saith Tabby. Taking down Aim is something, and this will be LANDER getting the first cap, and they don't even need to make it all the way through the second checkpoint to secure the dub here.
Hey, that's being generous, Ceebee. LANDER don't have far to go at all. If they can win the next ult dump, I think that's a clear path to victory for them to go 2-0.
And now you don't even have the opportunity to set up the Spider Nest for the Penny Parker, so now you just have to try and play defensively to where you can get somewhere where it might be useful, but it's not going to be enough. You already see KDA Droid in positions where he has access to the back line, and also going to get a BRB res burned out on both sides here. Now with the Goddess of Death coming out from Kyoshi, UF White are already forced back.
There's so many places to go. How can the Penny fight impact? Already Armageddon has begun, and this is looking good. The invisible boundary is out. Plenty of strategist ultimates to lay the land. But even then, an Agamotto was out, countered completely. Tabby is like, I wanted to do that first. And we could see it here. UF White, they've already lost one of their strategists. Slayer has been able to remain effectively invisible in the back lines, but no one's been able to bring out their ultimates just yet. That's a CYA, though, from LANDER's side. I'm waiting for that Agamotto to find its fruition, but with everyone disengaging on UF's side, they are relegating distance away.
UF White did have the ultimates. They had the Goddess of Death. Ceebee going for a very late one here. Going to get burned down very fast. Not going to be able to find the KOs off of that. And now is just stuck with only 32 HP on this angle. The BRB is active. Ceebee does find the KO to make it worth it. And with the Horde of Proteus, UF White makes what might be their final stand. Eye of Agamotto gets pushed out, but KDA Droid finds 3, making a 4th coming out with Kyoshi. And UF White have been completely shunted from this point as LANDER continue their death death march and continue on to match point.
Such a big fan of how, especially KD, he's such a flashy player on that Iron Man. It's hard not to highlight him. His way of playing the mid line, breaking apart the enemy mid line and backline side, ensuring that the duelists are not only not able to find any KOs against him, but I can only imagine the amount of frustration from UF Whiteside not able to convert out any damage whatsoever against an Iron Man when you are a hit scan.
I also want to correct myself. I just said match point. I believe this might actually be a best of 7 series, so it's not a match point just yet. It's not actually all that dire for UF White, but it's still getting there. It's still kind of getting there because you've gone down 2 maps, and this was your map pick. And again, we started to see why they picked this one because the Helena Moore is great here. I would also possibly have liked to see, a Hall of the Jalia pick come out from UF White, and I think it might have been a little bit stronger there. But nevertheless, the strategy was still sound. It's just Lander's team play was so smart from the get-go, using that strange TP to get access specifically to the BRB and break it. It means that UF White don't get that second chance. So when the KOs start to come in on both sides and you don't have access to break Lander's BRB, they get a second life, you do not, and your life runs out quick.
Yeah, I don't like it when my life runs out quick. It oftentimes does run out pretty quick when I don't have access to any of Wetzel's meat sticks. So hopefully we can make that change come at a different time. But that being said, though, it's been 2 games so far, and I gotta say, Lander's looking pretty dang good. They have a solid team lineup. They have great comms. They've been able to have a fortified front line that's been effectively invincible outside of Warrior Falls all the way back at the very beginning of this broadcast. I don't know how you can break them apart at this point, Ceebee.
I mean, UF White seemed to have some ideas, but those ideas so far have all faltered. Like the Penny pick, I think, wasn't terrible, but you can't carry it on to the second point. Once you even lose control of that choke point on first, once they use the strange CP behind it, you really can't do that pick anymore, especially against like an Iron Man and a Hela. Hela just able to fly onto these off angles and just pump in all of this damage for free. No shield to stop her, builds up to all these ultimates, and you're constantly subjected to the spam damage from the Iron Man from 1,000 different angles that you can't possibly predict, all while you're trying to deal with the enemy front line. You can't let the enemy vanguards have space. So it just stops working once the skybox is in play.
Well, speaking of predicting, Ceebee, can you predict what the next map will be?
I hope it's Hell's Heaven. I know it's not Domination, but I hope it's Hell's Heaven.
All right, production. What is the next map? I don't know. Could be anything, really.
My real prediction is gonna be Yggdrasil.
Yeah, I see it as Yggdrasil too. We go back to basics. Oh, there it is.
Ooh, Spider Islands. All right.
Now, whose pick was this? This was UF White's pick, right?
Yeah, they're getting on your good side today.
Okay.
We dodge the Hell's Heaven. We get to go to Spider Islands. That's your Squirrel Girl map. And they're playing, I mean, Lander's playing the flying Squirrel Girl, as I like to call him, but still,
I'm really curious what the thought process for UF White going into this is. I think the true version of me, the truest, I don't know if that's how you
truest?
Say it. The most real version of me says it's probably just a comfort pick. But, nerdy, macro, whatever side of me is also thinking, well, okay, we've seen UF White want to experiment with breaking apart, again, the back line. And that's been something very tough to do when you just have 2.5 vanguards on the front line playing goalie against everything you're throwing at them. You play Spider Islands, there's a lot of maneuverability on this convoy map that doesn't necessarily exist on others. I could see the return of that Psylocke. I could see the coming of fruition of, say, the Mr. Fantastic for that front line. But it didn't. The Psylocke didn't have the impact that I wanted it to have, Ceebee. So I don't know if that risk is going to be taken.
I mean, it did have a fair bit of impact, but it was also just kind of negated by Lander's playmaking ability,
like
large part of which was... It looked cool, and it also had some big flashy plays, and I think there's I would also like to see the Psylocke come to fruition, but every single time that Chiba is able to make a play with that hero, it's KD Adroit with the Iron Man that's making the slightly bigger play, and I think there comes a point where you kind of you have to address the elephant in the room, the elephant in the sky, the elephant that just hits you with his 5th unstoppable pulse cannon.
I mean, surely we see the Iron Man ban here, right? That he's just a symptom. He's not the cause. I imagine you ban the Iron Man, you go to I don't know. I still think a crazy pick would be the Ultron. I think that could still work, but obviously that's not your first guarantee that you would want to go to. I could see a reality where maybe like a Human Torch, even if he's a little out of vogue right now, could be an opportunity. Really, just any flyer will find
I think
impact here.
Mantis Ultron triple strategist is not a bad way to go if
Honestly,
you're trying to deal with.
You know what? This is my crackpot theory. This just came to my brain hole right now. The way KD likes to play isn't like a conventional Iron Man. You ban him out, I could honestly see a reality where he swaps the Star-Lord.
Could be. I mean, but like Star-Lord is a little bit more kind of like your Swiss Army knife kind of hero where he fits into like any sort of composition.
Yeah.
Works as a flyer, works as just kind of like a brawl hero, works well in dive compositions. Might even just kind of open the floodgates to a whole new world of compositions for Lander if you ban out the Iron Man. So maybe that's something that they're just waiting to happen. Maybe you ban the Iron Man, he swaps to Spider-Man. Maybe that's why we're seeing these Spider-Man first bans every time.
I don't think the Spider-Man would have the same impact though. At least that's what I would think. But I'm also imagining a world where UF White is probably just thinking, look, we don't need to ban the Iron Man. We know how to beat it. We have a way. We have a strategy. It's just to make it.
But you've tried twice now, and the strategy hasn't worked. Like
I know.
Like at a certain point, you have to just be like, okay, this isn't working. We have to try and change the strategy. I mean, you can commit, you can double down, but you're running out of opportunities to make that adjustment. And the longer you kick the can down the road, the less chances you will have to try and make it stick. The more you risk getting swept in the series completely. And we're starting to get to that point here. Spider Islands, as UF White's map pick, has to be a breaking point for them. They have to try and get something happening here, because if not this, the map pool is going to be reopened. We can just go back to a domination, or we could just go back to another convergence map, and Lander can pick one that they're strong at.
So you're telling me you're gonna ban Iron Man if you were in their spot?
Honestly, I think I would. I think after 2 games of getting worked by the same hero, I think we have to try and we have to make an adjustment, unless we have like a more fleshed out strategy that's showing signs of working, which we're just not seeing those signs. And there we go, right out the gate, first ban, Iron Man, boom. What I want to see is a little bit of trolling now from Lander. I want to see a Spider-Man protect just to really get in their heads. Oh,
God. Okay, Hawkeye's out of the gates. We're not going to see him anymore. If we see the Spider-Man reserve... I've seen everything.
Oh, let's go! We're actually going to get to see our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man today for the first time in what feels like forever.
I don't think I've ever casted a Spider-Man. He's just either banned or not here.
I legitimately forgot the name of his ultimate for a very good long while, because I was like, I'm never going to need to know this.
Spider-Man. That's what it's called.
Yeah, he's Spider-Man. It's Spectacular Spin, by the way. If anyone is out there is curious. I know a lot of people don't actually know the names of some of these ultimates in the game, especially, some of the more annoying ones. Spectacular Spin is the name of the ultimate.
This game is the ultimate tongue twister test. Like, you're saying 1,000 words a second, and then suddenly, blah, 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 it's Jeff. Like, that's not grammatically correct. Marvel
It's
Rivals.
Jeff is such a hard one. It's such a hard one to cast, because it's literally like, you're just identifying who it is. It's Jeff.
The prime meridian of my brain cracks in half when I have to think about saying that consciously, like 2 seconds ahead.
Well, moving on back down to the pick and ban phase, as we have a Magneto protect alongside Spider-Man, so probably still gonna play. I don't know if this is just all Vanguards are currently in mag jail kind of situation, or if it is just the style that Lander want to try and bring to the table.
I think it's just.
I'm curious to see how Peter Parker's gonna come into the fold here, though.
I think it's interesting that we've seen such a dominant play from Lander's Magneto. IDK, he's done well, but he's also playing not with his full potential either, because there's no Gambit. The super swords aren't out.
Yeah, but he's still a very strong hero in general. Like, he got that update to where now his bubbles are on 2 separate cooldowns, so he can bubble himself and also a teammate. So you don't have to be as conservative with it. Like, he was already a very strong hero, but it's a rich get richer kind of situation.
I like this. Storm ban is the final option. Lander
Storm and Moon Knight bans. One of these 2 teams is definitely going to try and go for that triple spawn hold, because they just took out the 2 most effective ways to break it.
Absolutely, and plus you get rid of the Iron Man, you get rid of the Storm. Those are the 2 best flyers in the game right now. Not a lot of options left for Lander here. Katie's gonna go for that Spider-Man. And we'll have to see if that triple does come to fruition too, Ceebee. But Sheba
No,
now
okay.
on the Black Panther, definitely better than the Psylocke here. It's way too open of a map to find effectiveness with her.
KD's over, hovering the Spider-Man as predicted. And I forgot. We're not. Why would we go to triple when we have a Spider-Man? That's definitely going to be. You use the protect on this, of course you're going to use it.
If we're talking about triples, that's the animal style.
I don't come from somewhere where there's an in and out, so it took me a second
much.
to get that. I'm an East Coaster, all right. I got Wawa. I got gobblers.
You get gobblers. I never
gobblers. Have you never had a gobbler?
No, I've never had a gobbler. We had Dunkin'.
A gobbler is a sandwich you can get at Wawa. It's essentially Thanksgiving leftovers on a hoagie.
So you're not.
So good.
There's no Wawa on the East Coast. We're talking Jersey and beyond.
There's a Wawa in New Jersey. I've
it's
been to a Wawa
Central,
in New Jersey.
but that's not New England.
Well, you travel south, all right? That's exactly where Chiba is about to be headed if KDA Droid has what it takes. Not going to be able to finish his food there, though. Heads back to the rest of the team, and Chiba gets out alive. This is going to be an interesting composition for this Spider-Man to play into, because you have the other dive of the Black Panther, and then you also have Amos, something who is, on the Mr. Fantastic, historically a pretty decent counter to this kind of playstyle, because I mean, Reed can just stand his ground, be that immovable object.
This is so dive heavy. Like you mentioned, we have Reed, we have Munchie too. Moon, excuse me, on the Venom. So it's gonna keep the Spider-Man consistently in check. There's no real clear way to take these ones and make a weaker team formation overall. Everyone on UF White's going to be playing essentially for themselves. The Emma's available as well to help out with the melees up close. I think the Spider-Man's hard countered.
It's Jeff coming out already from Slayer. Eternal Bond on the other side, and Slayer just waiting to try and get as much as he can. That is 3 people swallowed up, and no one gonna be able to stop this one. And Slayer just taking him for a ride off the map. How about a little dip in the ocean, my friend, as UF White will break this defense clean in half with just one Sharky boy.
One Sharky boy is all you need. Again, a lot of high-octane players on UF White's side. Each of these players and their ultimates. Okay. All right, man. Can do their own thing. But that's the strongest tool KD has against this composition. Everyone else either has.
Well, there's also the spectacular spin.
Sure,
that's a pretty strong tool as well. Taking down John Green with it in a swift uppercut.
Yes.
The backline is gone. You want to talk about strong tools?
Yeah. Okay. 2 options for KD Spider-Man. But otherwise, everyone in UF White are either very tanky or have crazy movement options. There isn't much KD can do elsewhere.
I mean, well, LANDER are coming up on a wealth of ultimates here. They're going to have the invisible boundary. They're going to have an Eye of Agamotto if they want to use it offensively here. And UF White only realistically... Actually, no, they're coming up on a fair bit. Going to have Bass Descent. Chiba could potentially use that to force out one of these strategist ultimates early on. Then maybe you go in with that Feast of the Abyss and maybe even double dip with the Sonic Seduction.
Yeah, I could absolutely see that here. Here, ult dumpage on top of the Brainiac bounce from Aim Something as well. Have to wait and see, though. Hard counter towards the back, torturing these poor little strategists. Unfortunately, I don't even think KD got a ping of damage.
Yeah, I mean, Observer doing KD a little bit dirty. I mean, that spectacular spin was something special. Fast Descent, though, from Chiba gonna find 2 early on here, and UF White seemingly have effectively broken this defense as that invisible boundary from the bubble came out way early, and KD didn't really get a whole lot done in the backline to make that worth it. So UF White are gonna be able to get the cap, and now KD is just kind of stuck behind enemy lines. Good uppercut, good movement there to get back with the rest of the team. But it's only going to be a regroup. It's not going to amount to a whole lot. Yeah, it seems like either KD's playing for information to snipe out where Sheba's location is, or stalling for time and looking for the spectacular spin buildup, which 61% is going to be a decent ways from now. And that card's not showing any signs of slowing down. Gonna have to find a way to break this defense fairly early. Honestly, if I'm LANDER, I'm thinking about that no more pick now. Feast of the Abyss does so much damage. Bathtub Toasto with the Eternal Bond gonna be able to mitigate a fair bit of it. Invisible Boundary, and it's Jeff, and Slayer swallows up 3 again. 4 if you count the teammate, but that's gonna be spit out there. Bathtub Toast falls on one side, and Slayer cleans up the rest. Another successful win for UF White, and again, it's Slayer that ends up winning it for the team. You have to keep better track of these Jeff ultimates, and honestly, LANDER don't really have a good way to shut it down. They've got the Meteor M, but that wasn't available for IDK how to play. He needs to start holding on to that specifically to try and shut down Slayer.
Yeah, and that's on paper too. It's so hard to hit a Jeff's little tail fin with the Meteor M, and debatably, if that's even worth it, depending on how many players he sucks up as well. Everyone on LANDER are struggling. They haven't found the key to success just yet. These are two teams that have very rarely made any hero swaps mid-game. They've always stuck to their guns and their options, and UF White was the team that would switch the more. Agamotto is out. Spectacular Spin is back on the table. But it's just a matter of KD can find the perfect opportunity to backline and use it. He's been spotted out. Chiba maybe aimed up and ready. Kiyoshi's good for 2. Is the Spectacular Spin worth it for the cleanup crew? I would argue not.
And especially when you have other ultimates on deck right now and UF White are on a full-fledged retreat. They're going to be coming back in with a fair bit of ultimates themselves. You know, Bass Descent, Brainiac Bounce, and the Sonic Seduction. You can combo any of those, but you have to worry about this invisible boundary from the bubble, and that's something that they just don't really have to contend with. So KD can just go in with the Spectacular Spin and force resources out of UF White, slow their approach here, and it looks like that's what he's trying to do. I don't know if he's trying to get a complete pull off the map there, or just be annoying and force an error out there. It's enough to take down the Venom.
Okay, it's a good enough poke from the Spidey. I see what his strategy is. He's trying to distract the strategist enough to force heals away from the front lines and weaken them, which is an optimal strategy, and it's working well. KD just needs to get something going, but when he does, it leads to a triple KO, or nearly so off of Valfam. But I don't know if that's the right solution for such a wide open area like P2 too.
Sonic Seduction gonna come out there from Valfam. KD again taking down John Green. As I said, coming out from Shiba, taking down the bubble, so we're fighting a lot on both sides. Some strategists being dispatched, but Bathtub Toast not gonna suffer that same fate. We saw KD going for a pull there on the Emma Frost there on Valfam, but it's not going to come to fruition. Nevertheless, though, Bathtub Toast, off of that Eternal Bond, able to find the cleanup, and LANDER are still standing their ground, and only 30 seconds left, and UF White have to make a play. I'm looking for Slayer to have that third big hero play on the Jeff, and you know what? So is IDK.
Yeah. Sheeva's not playing anti anymore off the Black Panther. Instead, the Winter Soldier for the frontline control. Melt away IDK how to play. Get rid of the chance for a Meteor M, or its effectiveness early. Ult up is out. Recovery mission is a go. Meteor M doesn't connect. My God, Ceebee, it does. What a perfect snipe off the tail fin. It's gone. Ultimates are out. It's a feast of the abyss and a boundary that cannot be feasted upon. It is a meltdown of UF White again. And even though it's some distance,
I want to talk about a gobbler that feasted the abyss, gobbled up the entire team, and there's a fourth there. Tabby gonna be the next one to fall, and that's the Doctor Strange dead last in the fight, so you can't use that portal to try and get a recontest. So LANDER are gonna have a very scatter shot. It might be. You will have KD there to try and go for a contest. He is very slippery, but we're seeing UF White press the advantage. They don't want to let LANDER get this touch. With only 3 meters to go. Spectacular Spin, finding Slayer. That might be enough to get their foot back in the door.
All it takes is one ultimate to drive everyone off of the point, bring that 3 meters back home into P2, and we continue this game. We're still on Spider Islands for this side. Meltdown again. OT barely existent. Each of the players are gone, and my girl, the squirrel, was there to help be the final nail in the coffin for the attacking side.
I mean, I would argue that the Eye of Agamotto coming in there might have been the final nail in the coffin, but there was some big damage coming out from Doreen there. You did actually get to see your girl coming in on her best map, at least for the tail end of that there, but Spider Islands is the most apt name for this map right now, with KD being the star of the show, whether he's being too annoying for the backline to be able to effectively heal up the front line, or just taking up so much of Slayer's time that he's not able to get as much of these heroic plays with the It's Jeff as we see. We saw 2 big ones come through for UF White, but outside of that, there wasn't really a whole lot that they could hang their hat on until it was too little, too late, and they couldn't pin down the very slippery composition on the retake there to confirm that capture. That said, though, a lot of carts on this map stall out in either first or second, and it was nearly a second-point cap. That's where UF White on their defense will have the strongest opportunity to stand their ground and hold the cart off. So it is still winnable, albeit with a huge glaring asterisk.
Look, I've been pretty critical about KD's hero picks, and even though he is 18-0, this has been looking okay for the defensive Spider-Man. I will say, though, Attacker Spidey on this map, if played well, And again, look at the AT to know. I think it's going pretty well, all things considered. I am very scared for UF White right now.
I think Ceebee is also very scared. We're seeing the Wanda actually coming out. Scarlet Witch making her first appearance in NECC in quite some time, as far as I can tell. Another pretty solid counter pick to the Spider-Man, but this front line for UF White, it's so defensive. It's just trying to shut down KD. It's not going to have the opportunity to be proactive, but look at LANDER pressing the advantage, taking as much ground as they can, going in, following KD every single time, and KD has already struck deep at the heart of UF White.
It's time for torture. And Spider-Man's the best at it. That's going to be the strategist gone of UF White within seconds of the round starting. Having an ISO once again. KD, this is his time to strike. Tries to play deny off the health pack, but the Angela ignores it, chooses to run away, peel back, and join the team for a reset. And KD's on a scouting mission.
Tabby, I thought Tabby was... Oh, no, it's Valfam actually that's opening a portal, so there might be a strange TP coming up, but they're going to be walking right into a Squirrel Tsunami from Kiyoshi. The spam damage, you're able to build it up so fast. UF White actually opt not to use the portal. They're going to hoof it back to the point. That means they have to give up point A. This is going to have to be a 5.5-minute hold. 1 second. And with the Squirrel Tsunami evening the score up 2-2 in the KD feed, UF White aren't really that good for the defense here. They don't have what they need to stand their ground.
UF White's composition's very squishy too. They have one shield bearer and they have one tank of Vanguard in the sky. They're not going to be the ones protecting the rest of the squishies from the Squirrel Tsunami. There's a lot, at least spacing, that can be found off of Lander's side.
That spacing is going to be just space for KD to just walk right in, get his damage in there. Slayer with the It's Jeff only going to be able to swallow his own Doctor Strange there. Sorry, Doctor. I'll put you back on down. Eternal Bond now going to come out from Bathtub Toast. Kiyoshi taking down aim is something there. Sheba wants to try and hit the Reality Erasure to get some trades, but it's only going to find the Strange Shield on the other side. It's not going to be enough to stop the onslaught that is Lander University and UF White. Sure, they've got the ults. Sure, they have the defensive positioning, but right now, they've got nothing. They've got no Invisible Woman. Where'd you see her? Where'd she go?
Oh no, I still cannot see. Oh, she's in heaven with the angels, but not KD. He is still on the ground fighting the demons. And now, with an Agamotto, a Meteor M at play, all the pieces are setting up for the final push now from Lander to bring this back home. And they themselves could be 3-0 into this series. They're setting up for it. Spectacular spin as out. Radiant Bounce does leverage the odds just a tiny bit. But the pseudo Vanguard can only be the pseudo for so very long. Aim Something is holding the line single-handedly, however.
We got 3 minutes and 40 seconds for this card to only barely inch forward a couple of more meters, and Lander have to be, UF White have to be perfect from here on out, and they broke the bank just to make that defense happen. One more Squirrel Tsunami from Lander, and it's over. So that's the ticking time bomb. A spectacular spin from KDA could be the death nail. This Eye of Agamotto from Tabby, we have seen it be the death nail several times. Maybe it's going to be that again. And for UF White, there's so many things you have to worry about. There's so many options. You don't even know what you have to do on the defense. All you know is you got to be perfect, and you got no more room for error.
Good. I don't like errors. I want perfect gameplay, and we could see that from Tabby. Oh, he's flying. He's gliding. It's an Agamotto from the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Spider-Man. He descends on down, goes for the isolation, plays with his teammates like a true Spidey should. And that's it. They're all gone. Lander have taken it 3-0.
Put some pep in my step.
Luckily, it is a best of 7, so we do have one more map. Yeah, they only need one more. We actually we confirmed this time. No more errant calls here from this amateur desk over here. We're professionals over here. We know exactly how much. Well, speaking of professionals, though, Lander look like it. Again, it's the team play. It's the Doctor Strange coming out. It's Tabby making some of these plays with that Vanguard line. It's KD, and whether it's the Iron Man or the Spider-Man, it's just dragging so much attention away from UF White. They're having to craft entire counter compositions just for KD's picks. That is the mark of a team that is completely lost and completely boomed. Lander have run circles around them, and now UF White only get one more map to try and find themselves.
It's hard for a best of 7, right? Because the gears were spinning for the first 2.5 or so matches, Ceebee, but honestly, towards the end, having an Angela and a Mr. Fantastic against the Spider-Man composition, it makes me worried. There's not a solution to be found anymore. I honestly thought it was the Psylocke. I thought it would be the Punisher.
To their credit, I will say that you did see a lot less pop-offs from KD once the Scarlet Witch and the Mr. Fantastic swaps came out. That said, KD is not the only threat. You can try and counterpick one guy all day, but it's a 6 versus 6 games. There's 5 more people who are a constant threat, and we saw it in the stats as well. Kiyoshi on that Squirrel Girl. If your head is turned 180 degrees looking behind you trying to hunt down Peter Parker, you're not going to see the nuts flying your way at Mach speed.
Oh, I wouldn't want that to happen either, though. There's plenty of things that can fly at you at Mach speed, though. Luckily, though, we have a small break, and it's enough time to go to a small little field trip over to Wenzel's and pick yourself up some amazing, delicious food from your favorite animals. And also, we have other sponsors to thank as well. By Blue Light and Extron have been so helpful for making NECC a possibility. Well, I'm hungry, Ceebee, so we're going to take a small break, and I'm going to go devour an entire bovine. We'll be right back.
We're back a little bit early. It is match point. We just couldn't wait to get back into the action. He's gooey, I'm ooey, or the other way around. I often forget. Have you been waiting for the opportunity to be gooey in our little duo?
I'm just happy that you finally accepted that we are gooey and ooey.
You know what? At this point, it's undeniable. And you know what else is undeniable?
Yeah.
Lander's victory, as they are one map away. And I gotta be honest, unless UF White are in the business of pulling rabbits out of hats, I don't know if they got a way to stop it.
Well, I can imagine there's a lot of UF White enjoyers in chat or just watching the stream right now. Surely there must be a path to victory for them.
Well, that path is gonna lead right through your favorite place in the world. It's happier than Disneyland. It's Hell's Heaven.
I mean, it's an equivalency.
It's an equivalency?
Yeah.
Would you say it's an accurate one, a true one, or a false one?
Sometimes it's hell and sometimes it's heaven, Ceebee. I haven't seen
I think
heaven.
it might be, it could go either way for UF White. It could be hell, it could be heaven, it could be their final resting place. Either way, that is... It could be I don't think it's gonna be Disneyland. It might feel like Disneyland for KD. No matter what he plays, it's not gonna be Spider-Man this time around. UF White had one taste of that and said no thanks. So probably gonna be Iron Man. Homie is going to be having he is going to feel like he is atop Space Mountain. I can tell you that much.
Yup. I don't know what UF White can do from here. They either ban the Spider-Man first or they ban the Iron Man first, and the other gets reserved. There's really no winning here.
I will say, you know, in the 2 maps where we did see Iron Man coming out from KD, Lander didn't protect it. It was just able to come through. They might need to use a protect on it this time around just to be extra safe, because UF White they're onto them now, all right? Like, they know. They're gonna go for the rocket protect. Interesting. Okay, so now if you're UF White, if you're UF White, you probably want to go for a protect on... Okay, it's probably gonna be something dive, so you probably want to protect like an Emma or a Bucky. That's got to be your first opening move, and then you got to go for a ban on that Iron Man. You can't let him have his 2 favorite toys.
Okay, a protect on Hela. We've seen this before. I will say I think the Hela has worked decently well for UF White's side. I wouldn't say it's anything super, flashy or spectacular, but I think it is just a utility that works well.
There we go. There's
this banned out.
There we go. All right, so we're making KD dig just a little bit deeper into his bag of tricks to see what he pulls out. Jeff Ban gonna be coming out. That was Slayer's best play, making a hero on the other side. So this is just kind of like, this ban phase, it's just shots across the bow in both ways. It's just target ban after target ban.
Doctor Strange Reserve, I think that's a good safety for Lander. UF White, their protects could honestly be anything. I imagine could be a Namor for the team up, or most likely a Winter Soldier.
I think the Winter Soldier is probably the safer bet. It's what UF White have gone for all too often, and it's had mixed results. Like, there have been a couple of big ultimates that end up coming out from the likes of Chiba or from Kiyoshi as well. I actually might be getting my teams mixed up on the names there. Nevertheless, I know UF White love to protect Winter Soldier, and that is a very smart one. Psylocke not likely to be banned, but I would like to see Psylocke coming out as well for the side of UF White. Groot ban is interesting. I think that's some forward scouting, because there was a Groot protect on Lander back on Burn T'Challa that didn't actually come out. We didn't actually see Groot come out, but this might be just kind of like a set strategy that they've caught wind of.
I think this makes a lot more sense to ban it out here on Hell's Heaven than back in Burn T'Challa, because besides Warrior Falls, and even that I would argue is iffy at times, Hell's Heaven is a fantastic Groot map on every single point.
All right, well, As we now have our completed pick and ban phase, I think looking at it, UF White kind of got the best possible ban phase they could have, but it's
Yeah.
also a very defensive one. So I have two questions. First is, what is KD going to play now that his two favorite toys are back in the toy box, at least for now? And the second question is, what is UF White's strategy going to be? What composition do they want to play, and what's available to them?
Okay.
We're getting the answer to one of those questions. Katie swapping over to the Namor for the Helen Namor team up. We talked about how we wanted to see it from UF White. Well, Lander about to show them how it's done.
Potential off-angling, a lot of backline destruction potential off of KD, throwing his spears backline. Horn of Proteus is also fantastic for breaking up the midline as well. I'm not... I always feel like I pick on KD. I'm like, I'm not sold on this hero, and then he pops off. I think this is good. I think this is good from Lander. No notes from me. UF White has...
KD is one of those players where it's like, it's a silly hero specialist. Like
you could bring out Default Man, and he would do it well.
Just a random, like create a hero.
Yeah, NPC, no powers at all, and would somehow find a way.
Tabby gonna find a way to the point, and it's going to be another strange TP. I like this play coming out already from KD. You talk about the flank angles and all the pressure. He's already leveraging it, and I don't know that UF White have caught onto it. They might hear his little bubbly footsteps up here, but they haven't fully scouted him out here. Probably gonna be a double Monstro drop, and then just a right click to delete a backliner here.
Yeah, absolutely. Go for the snipe. Sheba already has fallen. That's going to be the BRB expended. KD goes for one. John Green is down. BRB was already used before their KO, so we will not see the resurrect of the Invisible Woman. That's going to force all of UF White to go for an early peel.
Oh, aim getting taken down as well there. Lander, they know they've got the momentum in this whole series. They know they've got the points already. They know they've got this map in the bag if they just keep this momentum up. All they have to do is just keep this forward position, keep those tridents being lobbed down range, keep setting up Kiyoshi to hit some of those early frags, burn the BRB early, and then just profit off the back of it. We can see the Angela off here on the flank here. Tabby trying to scout that one out. They can get some damage and force her back, but I mean, UF White still aren't able to get in the front door.
Look, if we talk about how great the backlining for KD has been, we need to see Moon Achebe do the same exact thing. You have the bulkiness of the Angela, you have a lot of environmental workings of Hell's Heaven to throw people off of cliffs, depending on what the environment looks like. This needs to be your time to combine the aspects of Angela and Moon Knight together for a team-wide combo, something that we've seen as a struggle for UF White. CYA is out on top of Moon Knight's ultimate, but again, we don't get to see much from the hands of Khonshu.
We do see Tabby getting taken down there, but BRB gonna bring him back into the fold, and as the map geometry shifts, Lander now have to take the fight onto the point here. What they wanted now, Goddess of Death gonna come out from Shiva, forcing out the Eternal Bond. You might still be able to burst some damage through, but you gotta burst through Tabby's shield first. He's forced to drop back down, and the damage raining out, but we can't find any KOs off the back of it. Now Lander have the ults online in order to clap back, and that's a big clap coming out as the Horn of Proteus, as Giganto himself just slaps right on top of UF White, sends them back to spawn 85% and counting, and UF White don't have any say in this fight. It's hardly a fight anymore. All the fight has been stomped out of them bit by Lander as they look flawless on Hell's Heaven. 96%. They are not going to be giving up this point. They are on map point, match point, series point, grand finals point. One capture point away.
Lander University, we weren't sure going into this if this would be a runaway success for one team or a very close affair. I gotta say, it's only 1 point away now, Ceebee, from this being a runaway success for Lander University. UF White has had one major issue to solve from the very beginning, and this is their last chance to finally put the puzzle pieces together to see if they can counterplay KD.
But you want to talk about puzzle pieces, like Lander are fitting together so well. I mean, they go back to this, what we would probably call just a normal composition. KD is no longer on one of these silly heroes. He's just on the Namor, but still just as much of a threat, and is just enabling Kiyoshi to get the damage as well. The front line, Tabby and IDK are playing so well together. The mag bubbles and the cloaks of levitation to get Tabby out of trouble every time there's an Angela kidnap. UF White are just not able to get anything for their money. They can't make anything stick because Lander University are one step ahead. The team play is just too damn good.
And of course, we're not saying that this is all the KD show either. Lander University, their strategist backline has had very little pressure the entirety of this set. Mune Achebe is bringing out the Angela yet again. This was the attempt to divide out the backline last round. Didn't work too well. Kyoshi has taken a wealth of damage, brings out Goddess of Death to try to mitigate for things, gets a triple right away. That is just Lander University doing Lander things.
This is where the Angela pick can start to pay off for UF White, but not if you're not able to get through that choke point. Now Lander University have full control of it yet again, and they only had to use the Goddess of Death in order to do it. UF White, they've got Heaven's Retribution, but again, like, you need to get through that choke point in order to be able to use that effectively. You don't have time to build up to anything because every single second is 1 second closer to victory for Lander University. They're close enough that they can smell it right now. Munachebe can smell KD and wants to try and find this early KO, but you also have to worry about the BRB. The res is still active for Lander University. We might see Heaven's Retribution coming out here. We're in a position to use it. Mag Bubble and a Bird. We're not going to be able to find the environmental here. And UF White are just burning more time.
Okay, there we go. Agamotto is out. Heaven's Retribution possibly in return. The poke did not lead to taking down Magneto either. So many ults at once. Horn of Proteus is out, forcing it to the back line. At least now there's some stopping powers. Valfam, the other Namor, getting caught out by that ultimate, leading again to a cascade of destruction. It's UF White again to fall. And I gotta say, we focused on Mune Achebe for quite a while. Double pokes didn't connect. Heaven's Retribution not found. And no pressure against KD in what could have been a 1v1 against the Vanguard. Did not
feel
work.
Like we're a little hesitant to try and pop some of these ultimates for UF White because we're already bleeding out resources to try and get in there. It's a high-risk ultimate from Tabby with that Eye of Agamotto, but doesn't get punished for it, even with that Heaven's Retribution, because UF White, they just don't believe in themselves. They don't believe that it's winnable, even under those circumstances. They need to try and find the early frag there. Well, now with Chiba finding that first KO, it's going to be rezzed up, but maybe, just maybe you can believe as the second KO comes through, but KD is here to make a believer out of you. Stomp out your beliefs and stomp out UF White's momentum, takes down Chiba. Invisible boundary forced out, and a Meteor M trying to snuff out this ultimate, looking for the dunk, and he finds it!
Heaven's Retribution was down, and I don't know, does not care about Heaven. He belongs in hell. It's Tabby again to find two. A meltdown again. UF White, they're attempting to find some stranglehold, but it's lost as quick as it nearly began. And with that, overtime is gone. A clean sweep from Lander to crown themselves the Division 6 champions of NECC for the fall season.
And a clean sweep couldn't be more apt of a description, especially on Hell's Heaven, because even when it felt like UF White were making them bleed, making them work for it, Lander were still just top to bottom, especially in the team play department, that much better. Like you said, it wasn't the KD show all the time. I like to highlight the Vanguard play from IDK and Tabby and the way that these two work in sync. It's so good. The strategist ults for Lander are always at the right times, and crucially, they're not being shut down the way that UF White's ultimates are constantly, whether it was the pulse cannons, whether it was the Meteor M's. These high burst damage ultimates are constantly shutting down whatever Slayer and John Green wanted to do. There was that moment with those It's Jeffs from Slayer on the other side that nearly was a star-making performance, nearly bought UF White back, but it just wasn't enough, and when it really counted, IDK hit the dunk again. 14-2 for the Magneto, and that's not even the MVP. I think it already went away. I think it went to Tabby there. I wasn't actually sure who got the MVP there, but again, like, it just goes to show how good this team is as a team and how far they can go in this division. In fact, they've already gone all the way. They are your Division 6 East champions.
Yeah, look, you highlighted how great the Vanguards were in that last matchup. That means now we have highlighted every single role of Landor's team. They are a perfect ecosystem of finding the proper balance to check each other and make sure that they can find the maximum value out of each other's roles. KD, like you said, it wasn't just his show all the time, but he was the flashiest player and, frankly, the most fun to watch. I know for a fact that UF White can be at that level as well, but today was just not their day to do it.
I mean, runner-up is still nothing to sneeze at in any of these tournaments, and UF White, you know, I kind of like poked a little bit to say, like, hey, you know, we got to see what brought you here. And to be honest, we did kind of see it even from map 1. We saw heroic plays from Slayer, like I already said. We also saw Chiba with some disgusting Punisher plays on Burn and T'Challa, but it's outside of these hero moments that UF White kind of falls short, and the team cohesion for Lander University. just makes up all the difference. It feels so disingenuous to say team gap. Like, that's such a toxic thing to say, but that's kind of what it actually is, right?
Ceebee.
Like, no, like, no, it really,
Ceebee.
it's kind of, it's just one team was the better team on this day, and it was clearly Lander University. Despite the star making performances from some of the members of UF White, despite the star power, the potential that a lot of these players have, you just can't beat a damn good team.
Yeah, that's right. And we always love damn good teams here at NECC. And I'm so glad throughout this season we've had not just one division of teams rising up to the occasion, but did you know, and again, this might be an unknown fact to everybody here, there are 6 divisions here in NECC with teams just like Lander.
And I bet those divisions are going to be filling up pretty fast because this is only the first season for NECC Marvel Rivals,
Really?
and there's going to be a lot more colleges that are going to be looking to try and get in on this, I bet. And I bet the competition next time around is going to step up, but we are going to be stepping up the competition all the way up to Division 1 for our second matchup of the day. We're approaching on it. We're only about half an hour away from that one. I think
So we're going to film for half an hour, right?
Oh yeah, no, we can just talk about ooey gooey things, for about 30 minutes here.
I am more of an ooey enjoyer. I know some people like Ceebee are gooey enjoyers.
I do like my things gooey. I like my action gooey. I like my Marvel Rivals action gooey, and I do like quick breaks while we go and get that matchup sorted for you. It's going to be Northwood versus North Georgia Blue. Don't go anywhere, chat. This one is going to be a barn burner. You don't want to miss it. We will see you on the other side of this break.